Okay, I'm Alexander Edward.
And I'm Tony Boswell.
And we are Minion Death Cult. The world is ending. My fireworks sensitive dog is responsible. And we're documenting it. Hey, what's up, everybody? It's your bonus show for the week. Thank you so much for supporting us and listening. I mean, you got to listen. What are we doing it for if you're not listening?
I mean, if you are like just playing it, maybe on mute even, or just like letting it run, that's fine too. It's just really weird. You're missing out. There's some good stuff that you could be hearing.
Yeah, you're missing out on incredibly important updates regarding UPS and Teamsters, which is I found out that I am the Christian Bale of UPS drivers.
Like just the cool things, right? Not the other things about Christian Bale, or is this the equivalent of you yelling at the staff about how important the movie is, aka the strike?
Yeah, I'm all the cool parts of Christian Bale, by which I mean, verbally abusing anyone who's beneath me on set, without any of the bad parts, by which I mean that weird mole he has by his eye.
Yeah, just the cool things. I mean, yeah, I would have to agree. I would have to agree if we do have to pick a Christian Bale of Teamsters of UPSers. I think it's cool that it's you.
Thank you. I think people were also picking up on my sort of emotionless, purely logical, uh, statistically determined bullet trajectories that I use to shoot inadequate contract proposals from UPS.
Also, when you do the caps lock voice, when you do Facebook voice, that's also kind of like your Batman voice. So there's tons of parallels here.
Oh man, yeah. I'll try that. I'll try to mix it up when we do this episode. No, but I do have updates for us on Teamsters UPS negotiations. It is July 5th, which was the deadline that Teamsters set for UPS to come
Oh
to
yeah.
a tentative agreement. The end of our contract, as people may know, comes on August 1st. Our contract expires at the end of July 31st. And the thing about being in a union and about not imposing a new contract, they can't actually do that this time around because we changed the Teamsters Constitution. So it actually has to be voted on. The members have to approve whatever contract, whatever tentative agreement Teamsters leadership and UPS comes to, and that takes time. So we would need to begin that process by July 5th in order to avert a work stoppage, because we're not going to work under the old contract. We're not going to extend it. In the past,
Goddamn right.
maybe people, I've mentioned this before, but maybe people, are tuning in for the first time. Extending old contracts is a classic way of like losing bargaining steam. It's a classic way of kicking the can down the road and diffusing any sort of urgency that the negotiation frankly needs for members to get what they need. And so, yeah, it's looking, as of 4:00 this morning, UPS stopped negotiating. They proposed an offer that was not adequate, according to Teamsters leadership. We'll have a few more details on that in a second. But after that, they walked away from the bargain. They said they had nope, nothing else to give. And we'll see. We'll see if that's the case. If they really did have nothing else to offer, once a strike happens, because it seems pretty likely that that's going to be happening.
Yeah, it's almost like they don't understand the difference between when they walk away from the table, the bargaining table, which is, them saying that we can't give you anything else. But then when you walk away from the bargaining table, you're walking away from the company, and therefore the company's not is going to stop. So I hope they realize that.
Yeah, and I just want to say we aren't walking away from the bargaining table because we want a contract. We want a good
Yeah.
contract, and we believe we can get a good contract. We thought maybe we could get it without actually striking, but that might not be the case. And we actually, I believe, like federal law says that we have to keep bargaining up until the contract expires, and even past contract. I believe like you're in, I don't know, in violation of some sort of labor act if you are like seen to be unwilling to negotiate with the company. Not that that's the case here at all. So more information came out today, and it really does appear that what we are holding out for are the part-time workers. It looks like we're going to be going to the mats for part-time workers, which I could not be more thrilled with.
Yeah, that's awesome. That fucking rules.
UPS drivers, we make a good wage. It's not as good anymore with inflation, with the cost of living rising. And not just that, like I've said 1,000 times, we've earned this company billions of dollars in profits over the last 5 years during this contract, record profits. We believe we're owed some of that money in the form of, reasonable raises to the top rate for drivers. But part-timers have been ignored for decades now. They've kind of been just thrown to the sharks every contract negotiation, and I think UPS expected that to happen with these negotiations as well. Because let me just read these tweets here. I'll put them on screen for everybody. Teamsters tweeted out. I'm gonna do Christian Bale voice. At UPS and in the U.S., part-time poverty doesn't work. Receiving near minimum wage in many parts of the country, part-time workers at UPS are the most at risk in the company's workforce of being exploited and cast aside. And yeah, this is what I've been saying. You're almost at part-time, or you're almost at minimum wage in a lot of states. Just if you're one of the tens of thousands of part-time workers at UPS. And then they elaborated here, the Teamsters on Twitter. Part-time workers get screwed over, taken advantage of, and forgotten about. The hashtag Teamsters Union must put an end to this once and for all at UPS. If the company's pattern of exploitation doesn't end now, it never will. And then they followed this up. Without disclosing details, UPS's corporate PR machine claims its offer to part-timers was honorable, but knowing what it knows about the sacrifices and the struggles of part-time workers, UPS is only prepared to honor its own balance sheet. This is really encouraging. I think, I've sort of been pretty optimistic about Sean O'Brien's leadership of the Teamsters and his more militant attitude towards the company. But there was always a fear that, some things would be forgotten about or thrown by the wayside in favor of other things. And us refusing to settle for a contract that benefits full-timers at the expense of part-timers is really promising. That's like,
it's huge.
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, it's a beautiful thing for solidarity. It shows a great deal of solidarity, and it's, I don't know, it makes me optimistic for the future of this union in inspiring and helping other workers and other unions who, aren't Teamsters, or maybe not even Americans. If you can like throw all your weight on the line for the least paid and least represented among you, I think that that's a really honorable thing, and I'm extremely proud to be part of it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. You said it does speak kind of volumes on hopefully the future of not just the Teamsters but unions in general, because these part-timers, they're not union, so they're not only like standing.
No, they are union.
Well, I'm saying, but they're part-timers, so they don't get a lot of the perks that like Fulltime does, and a lot of times they might not even survive that. So like they're here to say like we got your back and we want you to be around. Like we want you to have a career, which is like something that people don't say often, and definitely don't mean it. So it's awesome. It's like that's very promising.
Yeah, drivers like myself, we are the face of the company. We're who people think of when they think of UPS drivers and just UPS workers. And that gives us some leverage in negotiations. But I mean, part-timers vastly outnumber us. Like they're 60% of UPS's labor force. And so they're doing a huge chunk of this work, and absolutely not just like deserve to be represented, but they make it happen. It couldn't happen without them. And it's like astounding how long they've been ignored.
What'd you say? You think a package touches like 2 to 3 part-timers before it even hits you?
Oh, way more than that.
Yeah.
I mean, it depends on where in the country it's coming from, but it gets unloaded from a package car by a part-timer. It gets sorted from there by a part-timer. It gets loaded into a feeder truck by a part-timer. It gets unloaded from the feeder truck by a part-timer. It gets sorted again to another part-timer, and then it gets loaded into a package car by a part-timer. Yeah. That's just from one building to one building. That's like 8 people.
Yeah, that's a huge percentage of the working force. That's awesome.
I wanted to talk about like full-timers' reactions to this news because it can be tough. The online discourse can be really tough, as listeners to this show will know. Especially when it comes to things like class and labor politics. Just America is poison for those ideas. America has a lot invested in us not realizing class consciousness, even for like people who are in the same union as us.
Yeah.
It's pretty astounding. But I want to say, like, the show of support I've seen from full-timers when the news broke that, like, if there's a strike happening, a lot of it is going to be on behalf of part-time employees, and we're gonna hit the streets for the part-time employees. I saw a lot of full-timers stepping up in various Facebook posts in my various UPS and Teamsters groups. I saw a lot of full-timers stepping up and saying, hell yeah, like this, they're our union siblings. They're our brothers and sisters. And
sweet, good.
I stand with them and we support them. And I think that is like due to leadership. I think that is due to like this leadership's focus on part-time wages and part-time employees. I think it sort of sets the tone for everybody else, and it gives like people like me and people like those other full-timers who support part-timers, it gives us some ammunition to be like, listen, you can crow all you want about work ethic and part-time wages, or part-time work doesn't deserve full-time wages or whatever, but the bottom line is you're out of step with the union.
Yeah.
You're out of line with the rest of us who do want to see part-timers do better. And that kind of
the exception.
It kind of shuts people up.
Yeah, that's very true, because like you said, like that's a sweet opinion you have there. But you're we are going to vote on this, unfortunately for you. So have fun with that. You're not you're on the wrong side of history here, bud.
There's just a couple like anti-part-timer arguments that I want to address, and this is stuff that we've talked about before, but I think it's important to kind of go over them again. There's there's people who are like, oh, so part-timers want to make a living wage? Actually, you're only part-time. You don't just, how can you get a living wage? And it's like, the phrase living wage, I feel like, is like a bait and switch here for part-time, because like, I don't know, a living wage is determined by where you live, first of all.
Absolutely.
But second of all, if we're talking about a living wage of like 25 bucks an hour or like 30 bucks an hour or something like that, if you're working part-time hours, that's not a livable wage then. That's
Yeah,
not
well,
that's not what that's not what we're talking about here. No matter what, like if a part-timer was at top rate, the way that I am paid, it would still not be a quote like livable situation. They would still have to get a second job.
yeah,
That's not what we're talking about here.
and like it's their logic really is, well, if you wanted to make a living, you wouldn't be working part time.
Yep.
And it's like, well, and UPS is one of those kind of jobs where it's like it's tough to do that part time and do something else part time. You know, because you're going to take the hours you can get, and you don't really know what time you're going home half the days you go in. You know, and like that's such a stupid man. But they're really just like just work more. Just don't be part time.
Right. So everybody, I think I said this on Pod Damn America, but like, and I've said it on our show too, but it drives me insane that like we've accepted the phrase part-time job as like an automatic, oh, that means you're a kid. Oh, that means you're a teenager. Oh, that means you're not doing anything important. Well, they'd make it a full-time job. Surely the company, if the company thought it was an important job, they'd make it a full-time job and they'd pay you what it was worth. But since you're part-time, it's obviously not an important job. And this is like, it's like baffling to me, bro. You're like, look at you on your fucking high horse with a full-time job. What's to stop the company from saying, "Hey, you know what? I'm going to turn your full-time job into 2 part-time jobs and then cut the pay in half." You would you would rightfully say that's absurd. That makes no sense. I wouldn't accept that.
I would just apply for the second job they're going to try to like use to take my part of my job, and I would just work twice as hard.
Yeah, I don't know. We don't need like your fucking brain dead bootstraps work ethic rhetoric to tell us that a part-time job at UPS is extremely profitable, is it for the company, is extremely valuable for the company. And in fact, like they're desperately trying to keep them as part-time jobs so they don't have to pay people more.
Yeah. Don't worry about it. They're gonna keep part-time jobs around.
Another like argument you see is, at least from drivers, is like, oh, well, I find 3 misloads in my package car every day because it's a part-time preloader who loads up your package car. And then I would say, well, they're getting paid 15 bucks an hour, man. Like the only people who are still there are people who have like, maybe they have years with the company and so they've gotten, you know, their raises over the years and now they're at 18 bucks an hour or something like that. Plus they have healthcare, so it's like it makes sense for them to stay. You think they're going to bust their ass for a job that has an insane turnover rating? Because nobody wants to do this fucking work for 15 bucks an hour. They can go work at Target and make more money. They can go work at a restaurant and make more money. You know, and I'm not saying like serving tables is easy, but it's also not lifting thousands of pounds of packages a day for like minimum wage, man. And so like the reason your car looks like shit is because UPS can't afford to fire that person because they can't get anyone to replace them that's going to be any better for 15 bucks an hour, you know? And I was talking to this, I was like responding to this guy today, and I was like, you need to pay like $25 an hour for people to actually give a shit about their work, you know, to like take pride in their work or whatever. And he was like, well, sure, if they're doing good work, then they deserve that money, but like not before then. And it's like, well, how do you think UPS is going to be like, okay, we'll see how you do, and then we'll voluntarily raise your wage by $10 an hour if you do good. Like, you've worked at UPS, man. You know that's not how it fucking happens, bro.
Yeah, that's real cute. That's really fucking cute. I like that idea.
You have to raise the wage to attract the type of labor that you're looking for.
And like, you also forget that that part-time employee also has somebody else telling them not telling him how to do it correctly. because they're not really knowing how to do it correctly. They're getting some idea, I guess, and they're also being told to hurry by somebody else.
Yep.
Because they didn't want to bring somebody else in today, so now they do have 3 people doing 4 people's jobs, and like so there's so many factors in this. It's just like it's probably not the loader's fault. And like, wouldn't you like to be able to say like, to the loader, like, what do we pay you for? And the loader's gonna be like, well, you pay me for $15 an hour worth of quality. So yeah, that's what you get.
Yeah, it's like that welding meme. It's like, okay, here's my $20 an hour work. This is what it looks like. Now here's my $45 an hour work. That's what this looks like. It's the same shit, man. And like talking to this guy more, he was like, well, I see a different preloader in my truck every day. And it's like, yeah, I know. Like, how is somebody supposed to learn your truck? How is somebody supposed to like have enough like bandwidth to focus on your truck when they're getting fucking shuffled around like every single day? You know, it doesn't mean anything to them. It's very clear the company doesn't give a shit about the way your truck is loaded. Why should that person who's making far less money than the company is?
And so you want some consistency on your loader? You want maybe a loader to be there like when you're there full time?
Mm-hmm.
Like, of course you're not going to have the same loader. You're going to have inconsistency. Like that again, these are all problems that are solved with the thing you're trying to like cry about.
The part-time pay has sucked for years and years and years and years. But it's got like the situation with preload has gotten dramatically worse in like the last 5 to 10 years, because I remember a time where you had a loader. Like you had a set preloader who did these 3 cars, and they loaded your shit up nice, man. They knew where to put everything. They knew where the bulk stops were, and they knew like how it's not this way in the system, but it makes more sense to do it this way because you've had a conversation with them. They write apartment numbers on each individual box, stuff like that. Like that's what you get out of having a dedicated like workforce with some skin in the game.
You can tell them something one day and it will happen the next day because they're back.
Yeah, and then that my preloader got a fat tip on Christmas because I appreciated that work.
Yeah.
But you can't even get there with the way the company is run. Yeah, so that's, I don't know. That's it for the UPS update. Looks like we're going to strike. Looks like we're preparing for a strike, and looks like it's for a good cause. Looks like it's going to be something to, I don't know, really rally people around, I think.
Yeah, sounds like this is something that can result in like legitimate career options for people. So that's really great. That's really awesome. Hopefully, you don't have to for long, and it won't put us in, put you in any type of discomfort. But I think it's worth it, and we got this. It's exciting. They're already like, well, that's all we got. That's it. And they got a whole month. They got a whole ass month.
I'll leave us with this last tweet that I saw that was so funny. Mr. Potapov, verified, of course. Only something this asinine could come from a verified account on Twitter. Responded to the Teamsters and said, "So glad you were there to negotiate for adults that seem unable to explain their own value. Once you are done with UPS, can you come to my house? My kids need representation at the dinner table."
Do they?
What
do you actually? Because I mean, if that's real, that's, I don't know if you really want someone showing up to your dinner, because you might not be able to see them anymore.
What are you doing to your kids?
Yeah,
that they need representation there.
Labor.
That's like the best case scenario.
Yeah, I think so. And again, it's like, so in this fantasy, were they gonna like go to the employees and be like, "So how much should I be paying you? You tell me why." And the employees were gonna like answer. That's kind of the whole point of a union, guy. Like, without this guy going to there, you really don't have a voice. Like you might be able to pop off, but you can't cause change without this collective, you know?
I love this. I love when like the far right or like the more self-aware right overlaps with like liberal sensibilities, liberal American sensibilities.
Yeah.
Because the argument here seems to be that all you have to do is explain your value to the company, and then surely they'll agree. Surely
Yeah.
they'll take your
Easy.
well-reasoned argument and give you that raise you've been looking for.
Get on it. When's the last time you sent your job a cover letter? Probably when you got it, probably when you got the job, and that's exactly the problem. You need to be more assertive.
Well, I used a sentential logic. It was about 100 lines of symbolic logic to prove to my employer why I deserved a $5 an hour raise. And you know what they said? They said, I didn't see this on Joe Rogan. I didn't see this debate happen. I didn't see
Yeah.
it go through rigorous peer review on the Joe Rogan podcast. So, no.
Yeah, sorry. Can you send me maybe some highlight clips from the episode? Because I don't think it. I don't. That's what I need. I need confirmation from him.
How does like the Sargon of Akkad piss nationalist feel about you getting a raise?
Yeah, have you,
That
have you
I
thought
really
about
need to
that?
know.
What if we offered you more opportunities to acquire grit instead? What about that? What if we just stopped paying you for Wednesdays, but you still got to come in? Think about the type of like intangibles you would acquire that way.
Well, that doesn't sound great to me, but I mean, I don't have anybody else representing me, so.
Did you not get your discount code for Athletic Greens?
Oh
Did you not?
man, I didn't
We
even
sent you a
know.
discount code for Athletic Greens.
I don't
We want you
know.
to perform it the best you can.
I don't know what athletic greens are, but I am willing to give up my entire healthcare package for it.
Okay, well there's some free samples in the break room. You can get one on your way out. But yeah, we need you to get on the Athletic Greens. That's kind of that's like why have insurance? Let's do preventative care. Athletic Greens. Thank you.
There you go. There you go. Okay. Moving on. Moving on. And I'm going to spark this now that the business is out of the way.
Now that we're not talking they're not trying to bargain for doobies, okay?
I could have kept going, man. It was so. Do you know that, like, that account, Jorts, the cat?
I think so, yeah.
How it's like a leftist cat, a pro union leftist cat.
Yeah.
Dude, it was criticizing the hashtags that Teamsters were using.
Why?
I have to say, at a time when UPS Teamsters, farm workers, and other workers are literally being killed by heat, I really hate the hashtag hot union summer.
Oh my god. Oh my god. Can we put a little trigger before we talk about before we talk about high temps? All right. Think it's funny?
And not to mention the whole union thing at a time when Teamsters left and right are getting divorced.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know if that's appropriate.
I was gonna say we need to chill with the union talk, considering how lonely I am, and if I was part of a union, I would at least have people I can call brother.
Solidarity forever. Are you aware that like the average lifespan is only about 70 years here in America? Lower, actually. It's about 65 now. It's kind of insensitive to.
Yeah, forever is kind of love bomb talk too. Love bomb languages. If we could just avoid that, that'd be great.
Kind of seems like you have an unhealthy sort of codependency with the idea of solidarity.
Yeah, kind of the idea of unions too. Have you thought about that? That's kind of interesting.
No, I like jorts. I just think that this is stupid. But
They're and like yeah, it's stupid. It's so stupid.
I reply. I was like, it's okay. It's okay, jorts.
Also, not to be not to go in semantics, but this last weekend was the first like hot weekend where people might have died. So You know, I guess you're one day into being able to make this tweet.
Like, what do you think you're doing? What do you think the fuck changing the fucking hashtag is gonna do, man? These are the people who are arguing for the workers that are dying, bro. I don't like. Do you think you're more sensitive to the issues than we are?
Well, see, the thing is, you might have one coworker who you know who died from heat exhaustion, but if you're UPS, that means you have like those are all your employees, so you're affected by all of them. You know, so it's not funny. You know, they're gonna be like, we got to take the sensitive route. You know.
Yeah, it's always best to err on the side of sensitivity.
Do they know that air conditioning is like part of the bargain?
Yeah, I don't think that man. I think they just care about the hashtag.
So silly.